Alex Smith, another bad decision by the Redskins. Let's get it, man. What's up with you guys, your boy ODJ here today with a different type of video, not a reaction video, but we're going to, well, it is a reaction video in a way. We're going to be discussing the trade that was made, I want to say it was 2 nights ago, by the Washington Redskins to bring Alex Smith aboard on a trade. They acquired Alex Smith and they traded away, I think, a second round, third and a fourth rounder, and Kendall Fuller, who was a very young and good cornerback prospect for the Washington Redskins, a good dime corner, a good slot receiver corner. Of course, they had Josh Norman and Breland out there, so he was in there manning all the slot receivers, and apparently he was the best corner this year in the NFL in terms of defending the slot. So he's going to take another step up in his responsibilities and possibly get the starting role in the Kansas City Chiefs defensive backfield with Pro Bowl and All-Pro Marcus Peters. So it's going to be interesting to see how he develops from there. But, you know, let me just tell you guys how I feel about the trade. I live in Maryland, and a lot of people in the area are Washington Redskins fans because that's the closest sports team. And of course, through the 80s, I think it was 1980 something, or it was early 1990s or late 1980s when the Washington Redskins completely demolished the Denver Broncos. So, just coming down to the trade as a whole, this means that because of the requirement of Alex Smith, they're obviously going to be letting go of Kirk Cousins, which in my opinion, I'm happy for Kirk Cousins, and I feel like he's been disrespected, not by Washington fans really, but just mostly by the whole organization. You know, after they let go of RG3, after holding on to RG3, seeing if he could do anything for the franchise, and he's showing that he couldn't, they gave Kirk Cousins the reins, and Kirk Cousins produced, had 3 phenomenal seasons. First quarterback for the Washington Redskins to throw for over 4,000 yards for 3 consecutive seasons. He also had over 20 touchdowns every single season. Alex Smith has only had over 20 touchdowns. I think he had over 20 touchdowns this year, 15 last year, and then 20 the year before. Of course, all with under 10 interceptions, but as you can see, he's not a gunslinger like Kirk Cousins. And because of that sole reason, he is just not going to be able to push Washington over the hump. I think Washington's going to get a D grade from Kirk Cousins into Alex Smith. Now, you're not going to see all the mistakes with Alex Smith, all the interceptions with Alex Smith, but you will see a lower scoring game for the Washington Redskins. And unless they go and they splurge on defense in the offseason, they're not going to be doing good. The past 2 teams that Alex Smith has been on that thrive, the San Francisco 49ers, who had a great defense with what's his brother's name? Is it John? Is it John? I'm tripping. One of the it's Jim Harbaugh. I'm tripping. Jim Harbaugh had an amazing defense stacked on all 3 levels and was just stupendously great, while Alex could just hand the ball off to Frank Gore and then deliver it to Michael Crabtree and Vernon Davis, who are great safety nets and are still in the league today making plays. Alex Smith actually reunited with Vernon Davis. That's tough. That's really tough. You have that going. So you had a strong defense with good supplementary parts around him in the San Francisco 49ers for him to take them to where they went in the playoffs. Obviously, it was not enough to get them over the hump into the Super Bowl 2 times in a row, and then they had to bring in Colin Kaepernick, who brought in another aspect to offense while keeping the ball relatively safe and still delivering to those safety blankets, and then still creating his own explosive plays, which Alex Smith really did not show in San Francisco. He just showed that he can take care of the ball and take a team to the playoffs. Comes to Kansas City and literally does the same exact thing, but takes him back a step because he didn't even win a playoff game in any of the years. First year, I think he had that huge lead over Andrew Luck, got finished. Tragedy. That was an ultimate tragedy. Andrew Luck, I think, was a rookie or a second year in, throws 3 interceptions and then comes back and beats you. And I know that's the defense's fault, but bro, you put up like 30 points in the first half. You got to be able to close the deal and at least put up enough points against the freaking Colts to beat them. Then you fast forward all the way to last year. They got finished by the Steelers, and then this year they get finished by the Patriots. I mean, not the Patriots. Did they even play the Patriots? They got finished by the Tennessee Titans. That's tough. Oh God, bro. And I mean, you could land both of them on Alex Smith. Yes, you could land them on Andy Reid as well. But Andy Reid has shown that You know, he's had more versatile quarterbacks who could run it, and also more quarterbacks with a stronger arm who wasn't scared to bomb it away. This was the first year Alex Smith was really started bombing away, and there's one key factor to that. You had a top 3 tight end in Travis Kelce, and then you have I want to say top 3 deep burner in the NFL. Tyreek Hill might just be the best deep threat. Deshaun Jackson took a back step this year. I mean, Tyreek Hill, you guys saw me react to the Kansas City Chiefs game. I reacted to a ton of them. At least once a game, Tyreek Hill would literally just run a fly and just run past the cornerback. Literally, he would just run past the cornerback. And then you have Travis Kelce, who can make small plays into big plays because he's explosive as well. And he can run past linebackers. I mean, it's when you see the playmakers around him, you're not surprised that he had 26 touchdowns. You're not surprised they led the NFL in passes going over 50 yards as a completion this year. You have 2 of the most explosive players in the NFL with a running back who led the league in the NFL, which comes back to the same concept as in the San Francisco 49ers. He had a really good running back, or an above average running back who could churn yards. He had more than this offense is better than it was in San Francisco because he had Tyreek Hill. He had Jeremy Maclin last year. They didn't do nothing with him. Required for nothing. I remember they acquired him because literally I think they had no passing touchdowns to a wide receiver the year before. Jeremy Maclin comes in, does not make a huge difference. So they just say, F it. You know, I think Jeremy Maclin's not with the team anymore. But they got Tyreek Hill going. Tyreek Hill's catching balls now and bombing it. But I digress. And he had a strong defense. You know, he had Tamba Ali in his prime. He had Justin Houston in his prime. He had Derrick Johnson on the back end of his career. He had Eric Berry. And obviously, as you can see, yes, they were injury plagued. Eric Berry was in and out. Eric Berry had I think he had cancer or something like that he survived. And then you have Justin Houston and then Tamba Ali getting nicked up and Derrick Johnson just getting old. And you know, Kansas City, it was crazy because I think the year before Alex Smith got there, a couple of years before he got there, they were one of the only teams in the NFL that had a really bad record, but they were sending 4, 5, 6 guys to the Pro Bowl consistently with Jamal Charles, Justin Houston, Tamba Ali, Derrick Johnson, Eric Berry. Who's another guy that comes off? Travis Kelce kind of came on the scene after they kind of regressed and after, you know, Jamal Charles also got hurt too. You know, he was facing injury, but he always had a better offense than Kirk Cousins. Just because if you compare 2 years ago from when, because Kirk Cousins had his breakout year 2 years ago or 3 years ago, he had nearly 5,000 passing yards with 25 touchdowns, and he had 2 great receivers with him. You know what? Let me take that back. I wanted to say great because Pierre Garçon and Deshaun Watson were above average wide receivers. Deshaun Watson was a deep threat who can make big explosive plays, while Pierre Garçon was a really good possession receiver. They're both really good at what they did, but none of them were really great. Both of them were kind of fringe Pro Bowl players 2 years ago when Kirk Cousins was just bombing away. This year, he gets Terrell Pryor. Terrell Pryor goes down. Jordan Reed goes down. Jordan Reed's been in and out the lineup for the past 3 years. All throughout Kirk Cousins' excellence, his top tight end has been in and out the lineup. And he's just been connecting with old Vernon Davis. He's been connecting with Jamison Crowder. He's been getting Chris Thompson involved. You can make an argument that Kirk Cousins did a lot more than less. Obviously, he had, I don't know, because I would take Andy Reid over Jay Gruden in terms of offensive coordinating and offensive play calling. Just based off Andy Reid's whole pedigree, and, you know, Gruden, you know, he had Andy Dalton. Andy Dalton was, I don't want to say prolific, but he was above average. He has Kirk Cousins. I mean, I don't know. It's interesting because Andy Reid's always had the better personnel in terms of players. Especially now in Washington, I mean, they've been okay, but they haven't been a great offensive unit. They don't have any Pro Bowlers. Alex Smith has had Pro Bowlers when he was in San Francisco and when he was in the Chiefs, and he didn't do squat. All I'm trying to say is, with all of that, is that I feel like Kirk Cousins is better than Alex Smith. I don't know. I mean, all this move really shows me is that Washington just wants to. They want to be slightly above average, and they're not going to be able to take the next step with Alex Smith. That's for sure. They're not going to be able to jump into the playoffs, they're not going to be able to make big enough acquisitions in the defensive side to improve that side, to make Alex Smith have an easier job. And Alex Smith is not going to be as prolific as Kirk Cousins. I don't care what you say. He's just not going to be as prolific as Kirk Cousins. Maybe Jordan Reed comes back and has a full healthy year. Maybe Terrell Pryor comes back and has a full healthy year. But then you take into account that the offensive line is still it was really, really hurt last year. There was a point where Kirk Cousins had to go to Seattle, play without his top 4 linemen. He has an all-pro lineman, Pro Bowl lineman in Trent Williams, who's been in and out the lineup as well throughout the whole year. It's just tough, man. That offensive line group has been banged up for these past couple years. So we'll see if Alex Smith can really thrive in that same situation that Kirk Cousins was in, under the scrutiny of the front office. They did trade for him. They did pick him up when obviously Kansas City didn't want to move forward with him. So we'll see how he does. I just don't think he'll do as good as Kirk Cousins. That's just me. But let's talk about the implications in terms of how it's going to affect the Chiefs and how it's going to affect Kirk Cousins. So now the Chiefs have the young gun Patrick Mahomes, big, strong athlete, a little bit more mobile than Alex Smith, has a cannon of an arm compared to Alex Smith. Alex Smith showed that he can really gun it this year, even at his advanced age of 35. I think he's 36 right now, or he's going to be 36 by the beginning of next season. Yeah, Patrick Mahomes is just a younger, fresher dude who looked like he has a zip of an arm. Really good preseason, and he did beat the Denver Broncos. Yes, the Denver Broncos were not motivated to win the game at all. I reacted to that game. I remember I saw the first touchdown when Kareem Hunt walked into the end zone because Aqib Talib literally walked behind him while he was running in full stride trying to get to that second level. Like, bro, third level, where the safeties were. They obviously didn't care about the game. Patrick Mahomes actually came in when they were down and won it though, so it was kind of interesting. It was kind of cool to watch, but we'll see how he does. He's coming into a very good situation with you're gonna have to give it to him. No, I don't know if you're gonna have to give it to him. I don't know if Andy Reid's a Hall of Fame coach. I really don't, because he has made it to the Super Bowl once. He has been in the playoffs a crazy amount of times throughout his whole tenure when it comes to the Chiefs and the Eagles, and he's had prolific offenses, tenures at both places. So I don't know if that's enough to send you to the Hall of Fame though, without a ring or without going to the Super Bowl multiple times. So it's going to be interesting to see if Andy Reid is going to win is going to get into the Hall of Fame. But nonetheless, he is a top 10 coach in the NFL, a great offensive mind whose philosophy has proven and shown to work. He does have, I'm going to give it to him, Tyreek Hill is the best deep threat in the NFL. Deshaun Watson had a slump year. Who else is a deep threat? I don't know. I'm giving it to Tyreek Hill, #1. I just saw him literally just run past people and just catch touchdowns. Don't sleep on Robbie Anderson though for the Jets, because he was doing some of that too. But we're going to talk about that for another day when I talk about my top 10 wide receivers in the NFL. It should be coming up in February, so stay tuned for that. So yeah, they're going to see how the young kid does. I'm going to give them about a good 3 years and then that's going to be their max point. If he has his first 2 years be disappointing, I personally think he's going to be very interesting. I think he's going to have a lot of yards. I think he's going to have around that mid-20 touchdown range, but he's going to have 15 to 16 interceptions. When you have such a cannon of an arm like that, you try to fit the ball into places that you shouldn't fit the ball into, especially if you include his youth and you include his just athleticism overall. He is super overconfident. I would be if I'm in that situation. I'm a big, strong dude. They trade up all the way in the draft to come and pick me. I play the last game. I come back in the game after leaving and I win the game, and now they traded the dude that was ahead of me so I could be the starter. He's going to be super cocky. He has great weapons too in terms of Travis Kelce, Kareem Hunt, and Tyreek Hill. They're in a good recipe right now. Good recipe for young QBs. Get them wide receivers that can make plays for them, and then get them a good running game. If Kareem Hunt does not have a slump like he did this year in the middle of the season, and he stays consistent, and Patrick Mahomes is not super conservative, but not in terms of bombing away every single down and throwing a ton, at least not throwing 2 picks like every other game, then they should be able to go, I want to say, around that 9-10 10-win season like they did this year and make it to the playoffs in a wild card spot, because they're still a good team. I mean, Eric Berry's going to be coming back from his Achilles. We'll see how that defense turns around. I mean, you're all getting Kendall Fuller too, obviously instead of Marcus Peters, who was an all-pro Pro Bowl corner. So this team is very youthful in terms of their offensive side and their skill weapons. They're pretty good in their back end. We have to see how that front seven is looking with Tamba Ali, Justin Houston, and Derrick Johnson. But I have high optimism for this team, especially how the AFC West is looking. I mean, it depends if Kirk Cousins. Oh, we'll talk about that in the next segment real quick. But that's how I think about what's going to happen to the Chiefs and how Patrick Mahomes is going to develop. A worst case scenario, Patrick Mahomes is going to take about a year or two to get into shape in terms of, you know, cleaning up his game and everything. So we'll see how all that goes. Now we're going to talk about the implications for Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins has a ton of different areas and ways he could go. There's a ton of landing spots, and Kirk Cousins is going to be the best QB in this free agency, and he's going to be the best QB in the open market since Peyton Manning was in the open market when he went to Denver, because he's the only quarterback that has been in the open market since Peyton Manning that can really take a team to the playoffs, take them deep into the playoffs and win a Super Bowl, and also be prolific as well. We don't see, like, you know, we take for granted how prolific he is. 4 straight seasons with 4,000 yards. This year with his top 2 targets that everybody was looking forward to him having, getting injured the whole year, and the top 2 wide receivers from the year before leaving, that's something. And still getting over 4,000 yards, getting 20 touchdowns every single year. I don't care what anybody. And he also had, I think, he had like the second highest completion percentage in the league a couple years ago, with 70%, 69 point something. Past couple years, 67 and 64. Been in that sub-60s mark, which is top tier quarterback play. He played like a top tier quarterback. You know, he literally, to me, he is Drew Brees without the respect that Drew Brees had, pretty much, because Drew Brees had a ton of respect throughout the league when he was with the Saints, even before they were winning and when they were losing as well, because he was still super prolific. Kirk Cousins has been prolific, but it's been disrespected, mainly because you have people like Skip Bayless down on him and saying that he's a underconfident overachiever. I don't even know how that's freaking possible if you can be overconfident but still underconfident overachiever. You have to be overconfident to overachieve. You can't be underconfident and then overachieve. That just means that you don't believe in yourself, but you still produce results, which does not make freaking sense. But we're going to talk about Skip Bayless for another day. I'm actually going to make like a first take Undisputed comparison, because I actually do watch Undisputed a lot just because of Shannon Sharpe and Chris Broussard mostly. And Rob Parker is funny here and there too. I'm gonna do a comparison because, you know, there are some stuff that is a little glaring that I really want to talk about. I really like watching both the shows. I really learned about a bunch of stuff. I really want to talk about those shows. I really don't talk about those shows to anybody because not that many people around me watch. People around me usually watch either Undisputed or they watch First Take. Not too many people watch the Undisputed, and when they do, it's usually like a Shannon Sharpe soundbite or a Skip Bayless stupidity soundbite. But that's another talk for another day. But yeah, Kirk Cousins has a lot of media figures really down on him compared to other prolific passers. For some reason, I don't know why, every single time you can look at the series of why Washington has not either gone to the postseason or why they went to the postseason and lost, it's typically not his fault. He's probably the last person you can blame. But I'm happy that he's out. Now let's talk about the destination where he could go. Kirk Cousins could go to Denver. Kirk Cousins could go to the Jets. Kirk Cousins could go to Cleveland. Cleveland is an option. It is a very viable option. Where else could Kirk Cousins could go to? What's another franchise that needs a quarterback? Wouldn't it be interesting if he went to Jacksonville? That would be crazy if you went to Jacksonville. That would be crazy. And then he just takes Blake Bortles' spot, and then Blake Bortles is just there being super pouty, just being salty after especially a pick. I don't know, because it looked like they're going to pick up his 5th-year option by the way he played in the AFC Championship game. But they still really could pick up Kirk Cousins and then just drop him right there, or pick up his 5th-year option, get Kirk Cousins, and trade him for some players on the offensive end to even improve the offensive end. To be honest, Jacksonville's loaded on offense and defense, but another talk for another day. Shit, man, I could really ramble. I could really ramble on and on about this football shit. When it comes to which team you should choose, Denver was well, first of all, he was supposed to go to San Francisco, but Jimmy G's already stole that spot from him. That's a GG for Kirk Cousins. You ain't going to San Francisco. Ooh, he could also go to Arizona too. Oh, but he's not going to Arizona. Arizona is like not a good spot. Their offense, and I mean, we have David Johnson's coming back. Yes, the defense still kind of youngish, but that's not a good spot for him to land. That's not a good spot for anybody to land. So it's pretty, you know, if he goes to Denver, he has an old, experienced Super Bowl caliber defense that probably has one more run in them, but they'll have a lot of that personality that the Seahawks have. So if Kirk Cousins, this Kirk Cousins situation might, you know, if he goes over there and, you know, it has the potential to turn into a Russell Wilson situation where he might, you know, show some type of tendencies. Because I remember people were saying that Kirk Cousins likes to pad his stats at the end of games, knowing that they're going to lose, and just wants to make his stats look good. Say if that boils over there, or even in Seattle. I mean, I'm just saying Seattle for hypothetical, because Seattle might say that about Russell Wilson. Then you could see just the amount of turmoil that might happen. So, you know, that might happen as well. And the offensive side of the ball is still pretty good, but Vance Joseph is kind of, I don't know, he didn't have a really good outing in his first year. So, you know, he's kind of a little bit on the A-ball on that. You go to New York. New York has a super young defense, 2 young studs at safety, some really good linebackers in the middle, a young D-line. The Jets D-line's been good forever. Like, since Rex Ryan was there, their D-line has been good because they're stacked with first-round talent on that standpoint. And so the defense is set. You jump over to the offensive side of the ball. You got Robbie Anderson. You got Safarian Jenkins, the tight end. He has the potential to be a top 3, top 4 tight end in the league. Physical attributes is better than Zach Ertz. So he's top 3 in that standpoint, but he's not the production. So I could say if Kirk Cousins goes there and then he produces, Safarian Jenkins could jump into that top 3 tight ends circle with Travis Kelce and Rob Gronkowski. And then you have Robbie Anderson, who showed he can go deep on mugs and just catch deep balls all day. So it's interesting to watch how this is all going to go down for Kirk Cousins. And then you have Cleveland Browns, who have the most, well, yeah, they have the most money to give. They could cash out on Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins could make some bank in Cleveland, some mad bank in Cleveland, which would be pretty crazy, bro. It would be pretty brazy. But yeah, it's just all interesting to see all the scenarios that could possibly go down for Kirk Cousins. That's all I really got to say about the trade. Washington made a mistake. I feel like Washington's going to regress this year, or probably stay the same, because I think they went 7-9. They're probably going to stay the same. And that's all I got to say. Comment down below if you guys think Alex Smith is better than Kirk Cousins. Comment down below if you guys think Kirk Cousins is going to go to Denver, Cleveland, the Jets, or comment down below someplace else that I didn't even mention. And also comment down below if you like this new camera angle. It's a little different. I made it a little bit higher, and I'm kind of looking up at it. And it's a little interesting. But I'll catch you guys in my next video. It's going to be the Super Bowl preview, because it's the only one I have time to really record it. It should be up tomorrow morning. So I hope you guys are hyped for that. Deuce.